Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
Hope you got a nice cuppa today, whether it's a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a cup of spiced hot cider. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Erica, and it's time for the Bible for Busy People. We study God's Word in 7 minutes or less, and we fill up on something lovely and hot to drink and a little bit of sustenance for our souls, too. Today, we're going to be talking about bread. Yes, is there anything better, especially this time of year, than bread coming fresh out of the oven? It's such a comforting sort of smell. Well, today we're going to focus on some bread that God actually baked for the Israelites after he rescued them from slavery in Egypt. Sure, you've heard the story of the Red Sea, how God tapped Moses on the shoulder and enabled him to part the Red Sea so that the Israelites could cross over on dry land. But what happened next? Let's find out. We're going to be in Exodus chapter 16 today. We're going to pick it up in verse 3. If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt, they moaned. There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into this wilderness to starve us all to death. So the Israelites are miraculously rescued, and they immediately begin complaining to Moses and Aaron, his brother. It makes me want to not complain like ever and to just recognize what God is doing and trust him with the thing that I'm complaining about, you know? All right, let's keep going with our story here. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. Each day the people can go out and pick up as much food as they need for that day. I will test them in this to see whether or not they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day, they will gather food, and when they prepare it, there will be twice as much as usual." So Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel, "By evening, you will realize it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. In the morning, you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your complaints, which are against him, not against us. What have we done that you should complain about us?" Then Moses added, "The Lord will give you meat to eat in the evening and bread to satisfy you in the morning, for he has heard all your complaints against him." What have we done? Yes, your complaints are against the Lord, not against us. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Announce this to the entire community of Israel. Present yourselves before the Lord, for he has heard your complaining." And as Aaron spoke to the whole community of Israel, they looked out toward the wilderness. There they could see the awesome glory of the Lord in the cloud. How amazing is that? Then the Lord said to Moses, "I have heard the Israelites' complaints. Now tell them, in the evening you will have meat to eat, and in the morning you will have all the bread you want. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God." That evening, vast numbers of quail flew in and covered the camp. And the next morning, the area around the camp was wet with dew. When the dew evaporated, a flaky substance as fine as frost blanketed the ground. The Israelites were puzzled when they saw it. "What is it?" they asked each other. They had no idea what it was. And Moses told them, "It is the food that the Lord has given you to eat. These are the Lord's instructions. Each household should gather as much as it needs. Pick up 2 quarts for each person in your tent." So the people of Israel did as they were told. Some gathered a lot, some only a little. But when they measured it out, everyone had just enough. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had enough. Here's our takeaway verse, verse 18. Each family had just what it needed. I love that story. First of all, the word manna, which is what this God bread is called, actually means, what is it? It's what the Israelites said, and it's what manna means, which is kind of cool. And did you notice that there was just enough God bread, just enough manna for each day? And for us, there's just enough grace for today. Let's jump to the words of Jesus now. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. Jesus says, "Don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today." I mean, that is some really good counsel right now. How often do you worry about what's going to happen tomorrow? Tomorrow is in God's hands. He already knows what we need before we even ask him. Although I really do believe he appreciates when we come to him with our needs. He's our Father and he cares, and we know that he's going to provide for us. I don't know if you're like me, but so often I take on too much. My to-do list rivals Santa. I mean, this podcast is called The Bible for Busy People. It's probably one of the reasons you're here, because you've got a limited amount of time each day. But I sure would like you to consider something. I'm trying to implement this in my own life. What if leaving a couple of things on your to-do list is really an act of faith? Now, I know that there are some things that need to be done before the sun sets, some jobs that you have to complete for work, whatever it is for you. You have to give the baby a bath before they go to bed. I know these things. But there are a couple things. If you're like me, you're like Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties, the overachiever, right? What if there are a couple of things you could just leave on that list and say, God, I know these things are going to be there tomorrow, and I don't have to do these things today. You've given me enough grace to do the rest of these things, but these things I'm leaving in your hands for tomorrow. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but it's what I'm trying to do. All right, the second half of our Daily Bread series coming up next time. Until then, remember, you are really loved. Thank you so much for listening to the Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or you're ready to go a little deeper in your faith, we've posted some resources for you in our show notes. We'd love for you to share this podcast with a friend and leave us a review. It helps us reach even more people with the hope of Jesus. This podcast is part of Purposely, a podcast network designed with practical podcasts to help you find and live in God's purpose for your life. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at onpurposely.com.